There's a veteran receiver sitting in free agency who already knows Klint Kubiak's system from the inside, can create juice after the catch, and would immediately add a dimension to this offense that nobody currently on this roster provides, and I want to talk about why this signing makes more sense than people are giving it credit for. The minicamp battles are producing some uncomfortable truths about players who were supposed to be locked in and are now fighting for their spots. Kubiak sent Fernando Mendoza a message this week that every single person in Raider Nation needed to hear. And Dante Thornton Jr. is out of excuses and out of time to figure out who he is in this league. Stay here with me, Raider Nation. Let's get into the news. The minicamp battles on this roster are producing some uncomfortable truths, and the first name that comes up is Jordan Meredith, a player who was in line to compete for the starting center spot before the Raiders went out and signed Tyler Linderbaum, and who is now struggling to even lock down the backup center role that should have been his consolation prize. Sam Warren of The Athletic did a full rundown of where things stand after minicamp, and his assessment of Meredith is not encouraging. Meredith is splitting snaps at center with Will Putnam, and the two are now in a direct competition for that backup role. And with Spencer Burford already getting first-team reps at guard and Trey Zuhn III bringing the kind of interior versatility that gives this coaching staff multiple options, Meredith could find himself in a genuine battle just to make the 53-man roster. That is a dramatic fall for a player who showed real promise in 2024 before the previous coaching staff moved him to center and watched his production collapse. Now here's the honest part of this conversation. Meredith is not the only one feeling the heat. Tommy Eichenberg is competing for the third linebacker spot against 7th-round rookie Cody Lindenberg, and the early returns are not going in Eichenberg's favor. Warren reported that Eichenberg has not seen reps with the first team, while Lindenberg has already drawn rave reviews from veteran Key Walker himself. Walker called Lindenberg tremendously smart, said he knows what everybody is supposed to be doing on every play, and described him as a sponge who soaks up everything without any attitude about it. That is a veteran linebacker publicly endorsing a 7th-round rookie over an established roster player without saying a single word against anyone. The message is clear. And then there is Darien Porter at cornerback, who is supposed to be stepping into a starting role opposite Eric Stokes, but is now rotating with 5th-round rookie Hezekiah Masses after Kubiak made public comments about liking Masses' ball skills. Warren's conclusion is that Porter is still the favorite to start, but the fact that Kubiak is openly talking about the competition tells you everything about how this coaching staff operates. Nobody is safe. Nobody gets a spot handed to them because of what they did last year or what round they were drafted. Klint Kubiak is building a culture where you earn your place every single day, and the players who are not rising to that standard right now are going to find themselves on the outside looking in before training camp even opens. The most important thing said by anyone inside this organization this week came from Klint Kubiak, and it was not about scheme or game planning or roster construction. It was a direct message to every single quarterback in that building, and Fernando Mendoza heard it just like everyone else did. Kubiak told reporters straight up that he is happy with the work ethic he has seen from his quarterbacks, and then he added the part that matters most. He said, you better be getting better every single day in this league, or you are going to get passed up. And then he said, we will find out if Mendoza was right or not come the fall. Let that land for a second. This is a head coach with the first overall pick in the entire draft on his roster, a player who most of the football world is already treating as the unquestioned future of this franchise, and he is standing in front of reporters and making it clear that Mendoza is held to the exact same standard as every other quarterback in that room. No special treatment, no protected status, no cushion because of where he was selected. You get better every day or someone passes you. That is it. And I want to be very clear about why this is exactly the right approach. One of the biggest mistakes organizations make with high-profile rookie quarterbacks is wrapping them in bubble wrap, protecting their confidence by lowering the standards around them and creating an environment where the player never really knows how far he has to go because nobody is honest with him about the gap. Kubiak is doing the opposite. He is treating Mendoza like a professional from day one, holding him to a professional standard and trusting that a player with the football IQ and work ethic that Mendoza has already demonstrated can handle that kind of pressure without breaking. Everything we have seen from Mendoza since he arrived in Las Vegas suggests he can. He got upset about missing practice for a mandatory NFLPA event. He is in the hotel reviewing the playbook with his rookie class after practice. He is asking questions that are making the coaching staff reevaluate how they do things. That is not a player who is going to crumble under a head coach who demands improvement every single day. That is a player who is going to thrive in that environment. Training camp is where we find out if that partnership is as real as it looks right now from the outside. The receiver room still has a hole in it, and the name that keeps coming back is Deebo Samuel, and CBS sports analyst J.P. Acosta made the case on June 17th that the Raiders make more sense as a landing spot than almost any other team still in the conversation. And when you understand the full picture of why, the argument is hard to argue against. Samuel spent time with Klint Kubiak when the two were together with the San Francisco 49ers. Kubiak was the passing game coordinator there in 2023, while Samuel was still one of the most unique hybrid weapons in the entire league. That familiarity is not a small thing. Samuel already knows how Kubiak thinks, already understands the concepts he installs offensively, and would not be walking into a new system trying to decode terminology from scratch. He is a known quantity for this head coach in a way that almost no other free agent receiver still available can claim. Acosta laid out exactly what Samuel would add to this offense, and I thought his breakdown was sharp. He said the Raiders signed Jalen Nailor and are a big fan of Jack Beck, who will play most of the snaps in 12 personnel sets. But what they do not have is someone who can create juice after the catch, and that is where Samuel changes the equation entirely. Think about what this offense looks like with Samuel working crossing routes and over routes alongside Brock Bowers underneath. Defenses are already forced to account for Bowers on every snap. Add Samuel running free in the intermediate area of the field after the catch, and suddenly this passing attack has multiple layers that opposing coordinators genuinely have to game plan around. Sports Illustrated's Gilberto Manzano backed this up independently, pointing out that Jalen Nailor is currently the nominal #1 receiver, but in reality, Brock Bowers is the top pass-catching option on this entire roster, and that Trey Tucker, Beck, and Donnie Thornton Jr. are still searching for consistency. That is an honest assessment of where this receiver room stands right now. Samuel is 30 years old, and he is not the same player he was at his absolute peak. Nobody is pretending that. But last season in Washington, he posted 72 catches for 727 yards and 5 touchdowns on 99 targets with a 69.4 PFF grade, while also contributing 17 carries for 75 rushing yards in the running game. That is real production from a player who already knows this system, who can create after the catch better than anyone currently on this roster, and who costs far less than the attention he is getting would suggest. This call needs to be made before training camp opens. And now I want to address something directly because the time for patience with Donnie Thornton Jr. is running out, and I think this fan base needs to hear that said clearly before training camp opens. Thornton came into last season with real hype behind him, a 4th-round pick out of Tennessee with blazing speed and elite measurables, a player who impressed the coaching staff through OTAs and training camp and looked like someone who was going to make a real impact in a receiver room that desperately needed contributors. And then the pads came on, the real NFL defenders showed up, and Thornton finished his rookie season with 10 catches for 135 yards and 0 touchdowns in 15 games. That is not a sample size you can explain away entirely. Now, I am going to be fair about the context because context matters. The offensive infrastructure around Thornton last season was genuinely broken. The coaching staff had no idea how to use him. The quarterback play was a disaster. The scheme gave him almost no chance to succeed. All of that is real, and all of that is valid, and I am not going to pretend those circumstances did not exist. But here is the thing. Those circumstances do not exist anymore. Klint Kubiak is one of the best offensive minds in this league. The scheme is built for a player with Thornton's speed and athleticism to thrive in it. Kirk Cousins and eventually Fernando Mendoza give him a real quarterback for the first time in his NFL career. The offensive line is better. The play-action game is real. Every single excuse that existed a year ago has been addressed. The only variable left is Thornton himself. And that is exactly the pressure he is walking into training camp with. CBS Sports pointed out that 6 of his 10 catches last season went for first downs, which tells you the talent to be a chain mover is there when he gets the opportunity. The Raiders drafted him to be a field stretcher, someone who takes the top off a defense and creates space for everyone else underneath. But you cannot stretch a field if you cannot get off the line of scrimmage against NFL cornerbacks. And that is the fundamental problem that Thornton has to solve this summer. Route running, footwork, the ability to create separation without relying purely on speed. If he figures that out under Kubiak's coaching staff, this offense finds a ceiling it does not currently have. If he does not, he is going to watch Jalen Naylor, Jack Beck, and whoever else steps up take the snaps that should have been his. Well, Raider Nation, here is what this week actually told us about where this roster stands heading into training camp. This coaching staff is not protecting anyone, and the players who are not rising to the standard being set every single day are going to find out the hard way when the cuts come. Kubiak sent Mendoza a message that every great head coach sends his franchise quarterback eventually get better every day or get past, and the fact that Mendoza has already shown he is built for exactly that kind of pressure is the most encouraging sign coming out of this entire offseason. Deebo Samuel is still available. He already knows this system, and this front office needs to stop waiting because the receiver room is not going to start to fix itself by September. And Dante Thornton Jr. is walking into training camp with 0 excuses left and every tool he needs to finally become the player this franchise drafted him to be. The infrastructure is there. The coaching is there. The opportunity is there. Now it is on him. Training camp opens in late July, and every single one of these storylines gets answered when those pads go on. Drop your take in the comments. This space belongs to everyone who lives by just win baby and never walked away from the silver and black.